Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Iskon Guruvind ki jai, Shaprapad ki jai, Shishikodantai Mai Prashishi ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari. Shall I read this? Yeah. I'll read it now. Prabhupada. Okay. Reading from Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter entitled The Last Instruction. Prabhupada was also continued speaking as he had in recent months about being unafraid of death and being fixed in transcendental knowledge. When receiving a presentation of some of his books recently printed in Portuguese by Ridananda Goswami, Prabhupada encouraged him and said, "This is life. The material world is just bones. The bones are not our real life. Our real concern is a living force. The bones may remain or go, it doesn't matter. The real life is sustaining the bones. There is even a history that there was a rishi who had only bones. So there is a science by which you can sustain life by only bones. Hiranyakashipu did it. You are also doing it, Srila Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna said. So take care of the bones as long as possible, said Prabhupada, but the real life is here. Always remember that. The material world means we are simply all protecting bones and flesh together, but they have no knowledge of what they are. And when Atriya Rishi visited Srila Prabhupada and asked that he visit Tehran, Prabhupada said that he was ready to go, but now you have to take a bundle of bones. These were, of course, the same themes that Prabhupada had always taught, the same themes that were in his books, but the lessons were more poignant and striking when Prabhupada applied them to his own situation. More than one devotee compared Prabhupada to Bhishma Dev, who gave important instructions in his last days, as Bhishma felt no pain and delivered learned and loving discourses even from his bed of arrows, and as Bhishma determined by his own free will the time of his departure from the world, so Srila Prabhupada spent his last days oblivious to his physical condition, defying death, and instructing his spiritual innocent sons. But Prabhupada's sons could no longer stand by and simply hear the philosophical lessons. Prabhupada had accepted their affection when they had cried for him to stay with them, and now they wanted to express that affection in the only world they understood, a world with Srila Prabhupada living and talking with them, laughing or reprimanding them as he liked. They wanted him to eat and drink and become physically strong again. But again, Srila Prabhupada seemed to change, and he began refusing food and drink. He had postponed his passing away to exchange lovingly with his disciples, and yet at the same time, by refusing to eat or drink, he was showing his preference for passing away. He admitted when pressed that it was an impossible course of action to live without food or drink, nor did he expect or want miracles. If he was to get better, it would be by taking nourishment, but for reasons of his own, he would not eat. He said recovery was material, and he didn't want it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today is disappearance days? Disappearance days of three great personalities: Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll just read a little. So this is Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was most probably born in the year 1416, Shagabta, in the village of Shri Krishnapur, as the son of Govardhan Majumdar, who was the younger brother of the then Zamindar Hiranya Majumdar. His spiritual master at home was Yadunandanacharya. In Panihati, he arranged for a feast of chipped rice and yogurt for Lord Nityananda and all his associates. Shri Nityananda was very pleased with him, and by his mercy, Raghunath Das could attain the association of Lord Gauranga. Although Raghunath Das was a family man, he had no attachment for his estate and wife. Seeing his tendency to leave home, his father and uncle engaged special bodyguards to watch over him. But nevertheless, he managed to escape their vigilance and went away to Jagannath Puri to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This incident took place in the year 1439 Shakabda. The Lord entrusted him to the care of Swarup Damodar, his secretary. Thus they both engaged in the confidential service of the Lord, attending to his baths, meals, rests, massages, etc. He rendered this service in Jagannath Puri for 16 years, and after the disappearance of both the Lord and Swarup Damodar, he left Jagannath Puri for Vrindavan. Raghunath Das intended to go to Vrindavan to see the lotus feet of Rupa and Sanatan and then give up his life by jumping from Govardhan Hill. The two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, however, didn't allow him to die. They accepted him as their third brother and kept him in their company. Because Raghunath Das Goswami was an assistant to Swarup Damodar, he knew much about the external and internal features of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Thus, the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, used to hear of this from him. Raghunath Das compiled 3 books named Stavamala or Stavavali, Dana Charitra, and Mukta Charitra. He lived for a long duration of life. For most of his life, he resided at Radhakund. He almost completely gave up eating, and therefore he was very skinny and weak of health. His only concern was to chant the holy name of the Lord. He gradually reduced his sleeping until he was almost not sleeping at all. It is said that his eyes were always full of tears. When Srinivasacharya went to see him, the Goswami blessed him by embracing him. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was formerly the gopi named Rasa Manjari. Sometimes it is said that he was Rati Manjari. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami ki jai. And Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was born in approximately 1425 Shakabda as the son of Tapana Mishra, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya stayed at the house of Tapana Mishra, Raghunath Bhatta, who was then a boy, washed his dishes and massaged his legs. When Raghunath grew to be a young man, he visited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri and stayed there for 8 months. Lord Chaitanya asked him not to marry but remain a brahmachari. Sometimes he offered prasadam to the Lord. He was an expert cook. Whatever he cooked would be nectarian. Lord Chaitanya was greatly pleased to accept the foodstuffs that he cooked, and he would take the remnants left by the Lord. Later, by the order of Lord Chaitanya, he went to Vrindavan and remained there under the shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami, for whom he recited the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was so expert that he would recite each verse of the Bhagavatam in 3 melodious tunes. While living with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord blessed him by offering him betel nuts offered to the Jagannath deity and a garland of tulsi, said to be as long as 14 cubits. The Govinda temple was constructed by Raghunath Das Goswami's order to one of his disciples. Raghunath Bhatta supplied all the ornaments of the Govinda deity. He never talked of nonsense or worldly matters, but always engaged in hearing about Krishna. He never cared to hear blasphemy of a Vaishnava. Even when there were points to be criticized, he used to say that since all the Vaishnavas were engaged in the service of the Lord, he didn't find their faults. Later, Raghunath Bhatta lived by Radhakund in a small cottage. He was formerly the gopi named Raga Manjari. Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami ki jai. Raga Manjari. Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Appearing near Katwa, Krishna Das Kaviraj left for Vrindavan after Lord Nityananda told him in a dream, "O my dear Krishna Das, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things." Krishna Das took Diksha from Raghunath Das Goswami. He lived a renounced life at Shamakund near Manasapavana Ghat, Radharani's midday bathing place. Sri Jiva Goswami, by his custom of giving titles of honor to qualified devotees, gave Krishna Das the title Kaviraj, the king of poets, for his poetic masterpiece Govinda Lila Amrita. During Krishna Das's time, all the Vaishnavas would gather at Govindaji's temple to hear Sri Hari Das Pandit read Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. The devotees were eager to hear about Lord Gauranga's later pastimes, so they asked Krishna Das Kaviraj to write them. Krishna Das prayed to Madan Mohan for ability and blessings. The deity's flower garland fell down, indicating divine sanction. Krishna Das Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most accurate, authentic, and philosophical biography of Lord Chaitanya. Every line is full of infinite humility, enthusiasm, and devotion to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Krishna Das had the wonderful power of speaking without offending, even when rebuking his opponents. He had vast knowledge in all Vedic scriptures. His books show his skill in the Shrutis, Smritis, Nyaya, Jyoti Shastra, and the culinary arts. Although he was an erudite scholar, a strict ascetic, a Paramhamsa Rasika Vaishnava, Krishna Das writes about himself. I am dumb, deaf, dumb, wholly illiterate, worldly minded, and lower than a worm in stool. His personal humility automatically attracts the heart of any reader of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Das Kaviraj was a living example of humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. A devotee will advance spiritually and understand Sri Chaitanya's teachings on Radha Krishna Prema Bhakti by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Vraja Leela, Krishna Das Kaviraj is Kasturi Manjari, one of the 8 most intimate maidservants of Srimati Radharani. Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Vaishnav Thakurs Ki Jai. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 3, Text 34. Anantavyakta Rupena. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenidam Ikalam Tatam. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenitam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Mataji's. Anantayukta Yupena. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chidachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Anantavyakta Rupena. Yenidam Akilam Tatam. Chitachit Shakti Yuktaya. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Ananta Vyakta Rupena. By the unlimited, unmanifested form. Yena, by which. Idam, this. Akilam, total aggregate. Tatam, expanded. Chit, with spiritual. Achit, and material. Shakti, potency. Yuktaya, unto he who is endowed. Tasmai, unto him. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namaha, offer my respectful obeisances. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation, the form of the totality of the universe. He possesses external and internal energies and the mixed energy called the marginal potency, which consists of all the living entities. Please repeat. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation, the form of the totality of the universe. He possesses external and internal energies and the mixed energy called the marginal potency, which consists of all the living entities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord is endowed with unlimited potencies, Parasya Shakti Vividha Shruyate, which are summarized as three, namely external, internal, and marginal. The external potency manifests this material world, the internal potency manifests the spiritual world, and the marginal potency manifests the living entities, who are mixtures of internal and external. The living entity being part and parcel of Parabrahman is actually internal potency, but because of being in contact with the material energy, he is an emanation of material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is above the material energy and is engaged in spiritual pastimes. The material energy is only an external manifestation of his pastimes. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation, the form of the totality of the universe. He possesses external and internal energies and the mixed energy called the marginal potency, which consists of all living entities. So I haven't given class for a year, so please bear with me if I'm not very confident. So when I was reading this chapter, one thing really struck me was that Hiranyakashipu, he's a demon, and he's performing all these severe austerities, not to go back to Godhead, but to actually stay in the material world and become a controller. He wants to take the post of Lord Brahma. And I was thinking, it's just amazing how he's prepared to perform all that austerity, and what is his goal? He's trying to take over the post of Lord Brahma so that he can control the universe. And then he wants to kill Lord Vishnu and become the supreme controller of everything. And think we're trying to go back to Godhead. We're trying to get Krishna Prema, which is much higher than what Hiranyakashipu is trying to achieve. But we're thinking, it's a bit difficult trying to perform devotional service, and it's a bit difficult to chant Hare Krishna and, perform a few austerities. So it just shows that if we really want something some success in life, we have to perform some austerities, whether it's for material something material or for something spiritual. We have to get out of the mode of ignorance and really, like Hiranyakashipu is a demon. He's the mode of passion and ignorance, but in the mode of passion, at least this is some intense endeavor. There's some really intense endeavor that develops in hankering. So we have to at least come to that mode of passion where we're hankering for the spiritual world. We're actually wanting to perform some intense endeavor to achieve our goal. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually, he made he stated that if you could get one of his disciples to come to the mode of passion, then his mission is successful. This is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said. So all this endeavor that he's performed is just to remain in this material world. It's not even to get out of the material world. So anyway, that was just a point that I was thinking of and meditating, that we should actually be thinking how much more we should be doing to actually go back to the spiritual world. And in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu, he's actually glorifying Lord Brahma as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when I was first reading it, I was thinking, is he actually glorifying the Lord, or is he glorifying Lord Brahma? He's actually glorifying Lord Brahma as being the Supreme Controller. But even though he's thinking that, Prabhupada is explaining that the Supreme Lord, he's full of all these external, internal energies, like the internal energies, the Antaranga Shakti. And, Krishna has so multi-energies. These are just like its main groups, but there's so many subheadings, like the internal energies, the Samvit, Sandini, Ladini Shaktis are within that category of internal energies. And that's actually maintaining the whole spiritual world. And then we have the external energy, which is the material world. And there's so many universes and so many energies within that are maintaining the universes. And then there's the Jiva, which is the marginal potency, which is Tatashta Shakti. So you have the Antaranga Shakti, which is the internal potency. You've got Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external potency. And then you have the Tatashta Shakti, which is the Jiva, the living entity, which he has the free will either to be under the internal energy or the external energy, according to his desires. So this is all like the main energies of Krishna, but Krishna is unlimited. It's unlimited energies. And so when the living entity, because the living entity is small, it's prone to fall down under the Maya, in the clutches of Maya. He ends up under the material energy. But when the soul is covered by Maya, it's like he's in the Jiva Bhuta stage. But when he's free from that Maya and he becomes under the spiritual energy, then he becomes Brahma Bhuta. So Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Bhuta stage is free from lamentation, free from illusion, free from hankering, and it's a blissful stage. So when we achieve that stage, then we're actually going to be completely happy. Not so much in the material world, but under the spiritual energy. So Hiranyakashipu here is glorifying Lord Brahma, so many prayers, and he's performing all these austerities, unbelievable austerities, to occupy the post of Lord Brahma, so that he can actually become the supreme controller and exploit everyone, the universe. So this is like the demoniac mentality. So he had such great determination, but it was demoniac. And he wanted to overthrow his authority and become the authority. So this is like the demoniac mentality. They want to become the authority. They want to overthrow their authority and become that authority. And whereas Vaishnava mentality is that we want to become servant of the servant of the servant. It's like das and a das and a das. Whereas the demoniac mentality is they want to become the master of the master of the masters, like boss and a boss and a boss. So this is the wrong mentality, because we are eternal servants. We're not masters of anything, you know. So we're very, very small and insignificant. And Krishna is the supreme master. And in the spiritual world, everyone wants to assist a particular associate of Krishna and serve, serve in that sort of service. For example, the Manjaris, they all want to assist a particular gopi to serve Radha and Krishna. They don't want to overthrow their eternal associate and become the authority. That's not the mood in the spiritual world. So the more we try to assist and serve our seniors in their service, then we actually develop the proper mood of the spiritual world. This is the culture of the spiritual world, that we want to serve those who are serving the Lord. And even when we perform deity worship, we're not thinking that we're, the ones that are actually serving the deities. We're actually trying to assist our spiritual master in serving the deities. So this, at the very beginning of the puja, we approach our spiritual masters for blessings, and we offer him prayers that he can engage us in the Lord's service. So this is actually the proper mentality, that we are assisting our spiritual master, assisting the devotees, and serving the deities and serving the Lord. So we always have to be in the mood of servant of the servant. This is how we develop Vaishnav mentality. So we see here that in the Bhagavatam, continually there's throughout the different pastimes and described in the Bhagavatam, there's a difference between the divine and demoniac mentalities. So like Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he's describing in a nutshell what are the divine and demoniac qualities. And then in the Bhagavatam, we see actually examples of divine and demoniac qualities. So we have, in this one pastime, we have Prahlad Maharaj, who's representing the divine nature, and we have Hiranyakashipu, who's representing the demoniac nature. And with Hiranyakashipu, his demoniac mentality is that he has this controllership. He wants to be the supreme controller, wants the supreme enjoyer, and he wants to exploit everyone else. So it's just another thought came into my mind was Lord Brahma. He's such an exalted personality, that he's actually been given that service of secondary creator. Like his service is to create all the different species of life, and then put the jiva into whatever species of life and whatever planet they're supposed to be on according to their past karma. So he's so much in touch with the super soul, he's so much in touch with the Lord in the heart, that he can actually know which soul, what their karma is, and which species of life they should go in, and which planet they should go in. That is such an amazing service, like we have like problems, we get stressed out with a few guests come to accommodate them, which room to put them in. But Lord Brahma's in charge of the whole universe, and he's trying to facilitate all living entities in their different bodies. So, and he's doing this as a service to Krishna. And in the very beginning, when Krishna imparts the Vedic knowledge into Lord Brahma, he does it through his flute, through the sound of Krishna's flute. All this Vedic knowledge is imparted into the heart of Lord Brahma. And like the first verse of the Bhagavatam is like, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kaviye Mohanti Yat Surya. So this Vedic knowledge is actually revealed in the heart of Lord Brahma in the very beginning through the sound of Krishna's flute. So he's the original Brahmana. He gets the Gayatri mantra by Krishna himself. And Krishna's not going to give such a responsible post to somebody who's going to try to exploit and not follow authority. And you can imagine if Lord Brahma was not a surrendered devotee and he decided, well, I'm going to create other species of life and I'm going to do it my way. There'd be chaos in the universe. So Brahma's actually following so strictly Krishna's directions that he knows what forms of species of life to create. He knows what living entities should go in what form, which planets. So, and he's praying that he doesn't forget that he's not the supreme controller. He doesn't want to become illusioned thinking that he's the supreme controller. If we have that much power that we can create living entities and planets and have that power, it'd be easy for us to be illusioned thinking that we're the Supreme Lord. But Brahma's praying that he doesn't want this, and he wants to remember that Krishna is the original cause of everything. In the Brahma Samhita, he says, Ishvara Param Krishna. So all these prayers by Lord Brahma, it shows that he wants to remember that Krishna is the supreme controller, the supreme Lord of everything. He doesn't want to think that he's the Lord of anything. So, and it's like, it's compared to a gardener. Like we plant the seeds. As a gardener, we plant seeds, but we don't create the seeds. We just plant the seeds in different soils and the plants grow. So in the same way, Brahma doesn't create the soul. He's just like a gardener. He's planting the souls into different bodies and different planets. And so in that way, he's not the creator. He's actually just more or less the gardener. He's a secondary creator. So in this way, if Hiranyakashipu takes the post of Lord Brahma, then what kind of things is he going to do? He's not going to be doing it in a service to the Supreme Lord. He'll be doing it for other motivations and create havoc in society. The Vedic knowledge is there to help us get out of this material world, but Hiranyakashipu would use this Vedic knowledge to exploit and to enjoy as much as he can. So the power of Lord Brahma is so great that within one of his days, which is like 4.32 billion years, all the living entities are transmigrating from one species to the next, from one planet to the next. And at the end of the day, end of one of his days, there's a partial annihilation that takes place, and the soul remains in a dormant state till the next day begins. So like the soul's having to wait like 4.32 billion years before another day starts. And then Lord Brahma again puts the soul into the particular body according to the past karma. It's just incredible, And he's living for like 100 years like this, and we've been like through umpteen species of life in that time. In one of his lifetimes, how many times we've been born through different species, different planets. So Hiranyakashipu, how would he get such power, and why would Krishna want him to be in control of the universe? He's going to be just danger for all living entities. He's going to destroy Brahminical culture, destroy the cows, and just create havoc. So that's why it's so important that the heads, the leaders of the whole universe are actually in line with Krishna's desires. They're not just doing things whimsically. They're actually trying to follow authority so that the whole universe functions properly. And it's necessary for the smooth running of anything, not only the universe, but even a temple. There needs to be some authority. There needs to be a leader, and there needs to be someone who follows. Otherwise, there's going to be chaos. So we can see from this pastime that the importance of following authority, the importance of not letting somebody who's demoniac to be a leader, to be in control. And all these demonic tendencies is to exploit material nature for their own end, their own benefit. It's all selfish. There's it's not for the benefit of other living entities. Whereas a Brahmana, he thinks of the welfare of others. This is actually the qualities of a Brahmana and a Kshatriya. The difference between the Shudras, Vaishyas, so basically the Shudras and Vaishyas, their main motivation is selfish. Their main thing is what's for them, what's for their own benefit. Whereas the Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, their whole aim is for the welfare of others. Their whole goal is to benefit others. The Kshatriyas, they try to protect living the jivas, and the Brahmanas give transcendental knowledge to help them advance in spiritual life. So there needs to be Brahmanas and Kshatriyas in society to actually help for the welfare of the society. If there's only Shudras and Vaishyas, it's all going to be selfish and all self-motivated. So that's why Prabhupada wanted. It said, even if there's 1% in this world, if 1% of the population becomes Krishna conscious, there will be peace in society. Because that's what's going to bring peace, the welfare of other living entities. Only the Brahmanas know that, and the Kshatriyas know that. So we've got this transcendental knowledge to help us attain this Brahminical mentality, this to help for the welfare of others, to transmit transcendental knowledge for the protection of other living beings. And the more Brahmanas there are, the more the world will become a peaceful place to stay. And the more demoniac persons are in charge, the more chaos, more disruption, more wars. And we're seeing it, we already see it in today's society, what society is like. So it's like really up to the devotees to help society in a more productive way and help society become peaceful. Is there any questions or comments? Yes.
I was just looking while you were talking to see, because Sri Rama said that when Hiranyakashipu did take over the universe, he made it so that people didn't grow old and they didn't get sick, and that there was fruit being produced all the time. So he had the whole universe geared towards maximum sense gratification. And so people were losing the incentive to want to take up spiritual life. But I was just trying to find it. Anyway, I didn't find that, but what I did find is that according to the Skanda Purana, Hiranyakashipu ruled the universe for 107.28 million years. So he did austerity for 100,000 years in the demigods, then he ruled. And then Mahabali, he ruled for 10 million. And then Ravan ruled the universe for 56 million years. According to the Skanda Purana, anyway. But yeah, so the question I had was, he's worshipping Lord Brahma there as God, and he seems very respectful. So did he have that, at that moment, was he just thinking of Lord Brahma as God? And then later on, he became intoxicated with his power and decided he wanted to kill? Or, because when he ruled over the universe, he didn't oust Lord Brahma from his post. He just ruled it and just left Lord Brahma to do what he needed to do. So I just wondered what was going on there.
Well, he realized that Lord Brahma didn't have the power to give him immortality. He realized that, so that's why he asked for all the benedictions to kind of make sure he was kind of immortal. So he knew that Brahma didn't have the power. So Lord Brahma couldn't actually stop him. So Brahma didn't have the power to stop him from performing all his atrocities, against the demigods. So that's why Lord Nrsingadev had to appear. So he knew that sometimes the demons become so powerful that they can, subdue all the demigods. So, but he didn't have the power to go back to the spiritual world in that sense. Like, he was performing all these austerities, but it wasn't for the right reasons, And it just seems like the demigods, although, they may be not as powerful as Hiranyakashipu, because they took shelter of the Lord, then they're protected. So that's actually, more powerful, that they take shelter of the Supreme Lord, and that way they can actually defeat demons. Because every time there's a demon, they all take shelter of Lord Vishnu, right? And then Lord Vishnu decides, okay, help. So this is actually the mood of a devotee, to surrender to the Lord, to take shelter,
I think Archie's got a question, but I don't know, hug the show, but just, it's interesting in retrospect that when Vijay was given the choice, 7 births as a devotee or 3 as a demon, he thought, I'll take the 3 as a demon because it'll be quicker. He didn't anticipate that 107 million, 28 years plus 100,000 were going to be used in that particular body. It would have been quicker to just been the devotee.
Hare Krishna, thank you for giving class, Mataji. I'm wondering if there is really demoniac persons in the world, or if it's just their actions that are demoniac, and why are they demoniac?
So the first question was,
are there really demoniac persons, or is it just their actions that are demoniac? And can we really call them demoniac if it's their actions?
Well, Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, right? There's 4 types of pious people, 4 types of impious people, 4 types of people that don't surrender to Krishna. And there are the Maya Prita Jnanas, which are those their knowledge is stolen by illusion. There's the Mudas, the gross foolish materialists. There's a Naradamas, the lowest of mankind, and what's the other one? Duskritana, demoniac. So the soul isn't demoniac, but because of their desires, they get a particular body and mentality that is demoniac. So the soul doesn't change. The soul is eternally the same, but it's only the desire that's keeping us in the material world and different bodies and different demoniac mentalities. So all these different mentalities that don't want to surrender to Krishna are impious and demoniac. But it's the mentality. It's like they get a particular set of mind and senses to perform that activity that they want. So Krishna gives us the free will. It's like the law of karma works in such a way that before we perform an activity, we've got a choice. But after we've performed that activity, we don't really have choice but to accept the reaction. And the only choice we have is how we respond to that reaction. So sometimes devotees, they think that they're beyond the law of karma. They think that they can say anything they want, do anything they want, and they're not going to get a reaction for it. But actually, that's not true. It's like if you shoot a bullet, before you shot the bullet, you had the choice. But after you shot that bullet, there's going to be a reaction of some sort, and you've got no choice now. You shot the bullet, you shot the arrow. So the only choice you have now is how you're going to respond to what's going to happen. So that's why we have to be very careful when we speak, or before we speak, before we act. We have to be very careful, because we don't know what that reaction is going to be that's going to come from that. So that's why we have to learn austerity of the tongue, and austerity of the mind, austerity of the body, so that we don't, do the wrong things. Because sometimes we may suffer from past actions that we've performed in previous lifetimes, and we don't know why it's all coming to us now. Actually, it's a very interesting analogy. I heard Radhanath Maharaj was saying that. He says, committing an offense is like, what's it called? A tsunami. It's like creating a tsunami. He says, when a tsunami is about to come, even from satellite pictures, you can't see a tsunami coming. There's no warning, because it's all under. And the only time you see the reaction is when it actually hits the shore, and that's when you see the tsunami. So he says, an offense is like that. If we commit an offense, we carry on as though nothing's happening, but it's only a matter of time before the reaction comes, and then it hits us, and then we wonder what happened. Why did that happen to us? So it's very important, as devotees, that we don't perform or say the wrong things or speak the wrong things or offend devotees, because the reaction for that can, be so devastating. And that is like succumbing to our lower nature, the demoniac mentality of trying to be the controller, trying to be the enjoyer, trying to exploit others. So, it's a very risky thing. We always have to be in a humble state of mind, offer all respects unto others. And that way, if we give kindness out, we will get kindness back. And if we're giving harshness out, we're going to get harshness back. It's just the law of karma. It's nothing, we all know it, but we don't live it. We think that, we don't have to do this because we're devotees.
There are regions where demons live. It's the species, and there's also regions where demons live. So first of all, demons are on the one planet, and then they're on the same planet, but in different countries. Then they're on different families. Then finally, in Kali Yuga, everyone has the potential to be demoniac, and then that's why 16th chapter, Dambo Dapa Bhimanas Cha, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demoniac nature. They say this world is unreal with no foundation and no God in control. They say it's produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. But somebody could be like that. He could be a demon, and then he could just change. He could come to being humility, pridelessness, accepting the importance of a spiritual master. He can shift. So the two extremes of the spectrum are pride and humility, and we're in between the two, and we're trying to go more towards the divine side and conquer over the demoniac side.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't answer all your questions. So what was the second question? So is it a demoniac? Is it actually a demon? And the other one, sorry, can we call them demons? Because that's what's described in the Bhagavatam, isn't it? Asuras. And the other one was. Yeah, of course. Through the process of devotional service, anybody can change. Like, if we read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jaga and Madai, they had so many demoniac qualities, but by the mercy of the Lord, they became great devotees. So that was to show that, it's not like if you're demonic, that's the end. You remain demoniac. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he's changing the demonic mentality. He's not killing the demons, he's killing their demonic mentality and making them into devotees. So we're part of that mission to help living entities get free from the demoniac tendencies and become devotees. So, yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for class. I have a question. We see in this world, people put so much endeavor into their material desires, and this is nicely exemplified by Hiranyakashipu. And so I'm wondering, like, as devotees, what is it that's going to spur our desire to get back to the spiritual realm? How can we become, like, completely motivated to get to that point?
Well, you mean how do we create this desire in our heart to go back to Godhead? Well, generally, when we feel suffering in the material world, we want to get out. That's usually the first step. If we suffer in the material world, then we think, we want to get out of the material world. And Krishna describes like 4 different type of persons who turn to him. Those who are, suffering, those who are in need of wealth, those who are inquisitive, and those who are searching for knowledge of the absolute. Right. So these are the 4 categories of pious people who turn to Krishna. So if we're suffering a lot and we're thinking, I want to get free from the suffering condition, then we turn to Krishna. Or somebody's wanting wealth, like Dhruva Maharaj wanted a kingdom greater than his grandfather. He's turned to Krishna. And by turning to Krishna, even although it's motivated, it's not pure desire, still Krishna takes the essence, and because we've turned to him, he purifies us of that desire. So another way of increasing our desire to go back to the spiritual world is by associating with those who have that desire, who really want to go back to Godhead. It's like I remember one devotee, I was listening to a lecture, and he said one advice he was given was that, just like he gave the example of the Kumbh Mela, he said that, when the Kumbh Mela is there and everyone wants to take bath in the Ganges at that particular point, he says there's crowds and crowds of people that are pushing towards the Ganges. And he said, even if you want to go the opposite direction, you can't. You end up going in the same direction as everybody else because they're all going. There's millions of people going to the Ganges, and you just get pulled along with them or pushed along with them. So he says, that's what the association of devotees is like. If you associate with those who have that intense desire to go back to Godhead, then you will also be pulled along with them. So it's important to be in the right association. If you have an association of those who are going the opposite direction, you'll end up going the opposite direction. So is that okay? Okay. Is there any? Okay. So thank you very much for listening and being attentive. And, hope I can share more realizations another time. Okay, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. ISKCON Guru Govind ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Bol.
The grace Jagannatha Priya Devi Dasi ki.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.